Alright, you guys, what it is, today I am back again with another video, and today we are talking about solo leveling. Now, I know it's been a minute since I actually uploaded a video, and I really do need to get better about that, but I was trying to constantly go through and read and reread Solo Leveling because I love this series so much, and I kind of wanted to make this scaling as accurate as possible, at least by my own interpretation of what I read and stuff. So it took a little minute, but I need to learn to start in between these long periods of break when I'm reading certain series and stuff and going through to, upload other little smaller things in between. But aside, live and learn. Either way, today we're talking about solo leveling, and not just solo leveling, we're talking about the main protagonist, and that being Sung Jin Woo. I have to say I'm very excited. This is a fucking fantastic series. I'm really excited to talk about it. But of course, like with just about every one of my power scaling videos, it comes with a price, and that is of course spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled about any of this stuff, click off the video because I'm sorry, I have to get into it. But if you want to, continue, and let's get started. So for the most part, Sung Jin Woo, when after the whole event that happened in the dungeon and him being somewhat reawakened and turned into a quote unquote player by the system, for the most part, there's not really much for me to really go over in terms of the beginning portion of Sung Jin Woo in terms of how powerful he was. And that was during the time when he went from the E rank to being around DCB DCBA, so on and so forth. Everything really comes to a head when he finally crosses the threshold and equates to him being a S-class hunter. That's when everything really comes into a head. What we come to learn is through a fight that happened between another S-class hunter by Hwang Dong-soo and Sung Jin Woo's father, we kind of found out that when S-class hunters actually battle, it is stated that the nearby lands will change and everything will be reduced to ruins. Now, nearby lands is a bit weird. It's not hate the fact it's not specific. But I've come to kind of realize that they're really equating to being more around a small towns to city can be destroyed if two S-class hunters battles. And keep this in mind, they're referring to just two average S-class hunters. Just the title of being an S-class hunter results in that type of destruction. Now, the reason why I come to this conclusion is because Hunter Sung Jin Woo actually battled against a A-rank monster, and after making it his summoning, making it something where it becomes nerfed. And even though in this scene he was granted the Orb of Avarice, which increases his power by 100 times, so basically it's a pretty high multiplier, he was shown that he's capable of just with a single shot reducing a large chunk of a city, considering the dungeon that they were in replicated Korea, and it did a large amount of damage to it. And even then, he was nerfed and still only seen as a A-rank boss. Now, the reason why this is important is because we do know throughout the series these things have levels to how they tend to operate, such as the fact that you can be an A rank, but there's levels to A rank. You can be an S rank and there are levels to S rank. S rank is especially the way how it goes because, as stated by the chairman in the series, that because the S rank's power is essentially immeasurable, it's very difficult for them to tell the difference between an S rank, a double S rank, or a triple S rank, so on and so forth. It is extremely difficult for them to figure that out. That is the reason why certain hunters, even though they're S-class, they're not all even one another. Maybe certain levels, someone that are powerful. A prime example of this is actually a hunter by the name of Hunter Chai Hien, who is, after Sung Jin Woo sees it, considering he has extremely good sensory abilities, he immediately recognizes her as being more powerful than her guild master. The guild master also being another S-class hunter as well. And it's stated that she's even stronger, proving that even though they're S-class together, she is even stronger lead. And there are other hunters considering just like her, such as Chairman Go Gun Hee, who also, at this point in the series, when Sung Jin Woo actually becomes a bit more stronger and stuff, he even says that, yeah, you're actually in a similar league to me. Like, our powers are actually very similar. Showing that, yeah, that they're also just as powerful and even more powerful. Considering, even after Sung Jin Woo becomes more powerful and stuff, even Chai Hien mistakes Sung Jin Woo for Chairman Go Gun Hee and none of the other S-class hunters in a series. And that idea of there being different levels to S-Class Hunters continues to be piled on when we come into contact with the Japan S-Rank Hunters, who Hunter Bayek, who is actually one of the stronger hunters amongst the S-Class in Korea, blatantly says in their little sparring matches that the difference between them is actually pretty big, to the point he doesn't even think that even if he would have transformed and went all out, he still believes it wouldn't have made a difference, showing that Japan has stronger S-Rank hunters. And it also goes to a head when we find out who the strongest S-Rank hunter in Japan is, which is a man by the name of Goto Ryuji, who is blatantly seen as being more powerful than every other hunter around. And even the hunters that are there, such as Chai-Han, Bayek, Chairman Goga, he, and the other S-Class, they all look at him and realize that, yeah, like, he is definitely no joke whatsoever. But even as powerful as some of these S-Class hunters is, being even above that A-rank boss that I mentioned before, none of them even compare to Sun Jin Woo, and we come to learn this by the fact of the Ant King. During a raid on Jeju Island, the Ant King makes his appearance known, and just his appearance and him releasing his aura is able to encompass the entire mountain mound that the ants had built on this island, that pretty much makes up a pretty good portion of the island itself, and actually just completely blanketed, smothered it in its own aura. And this ant was capable of going through and literally one-shotting every member of the Japan S-Class hunters, who were all seen as being more powerful, with the exception of Gojo, and was even capable of one-shotting all of the Korean hunters with literally no difficulty whatsoever. Like I said, as I stated, just this kind of proves that Goto was actually higher, so he was the only S-Class hunter there that was capable of at least blocking one hit. And even the Ant King himself, after gaining a small sense of Goto's power, was like, yep, that must be the Ant King, or that must be the Human King. Let me go deal with him, showing that he is more powerful. But even with all that, as soon as the Ant King comes around, even Goto himself gets immediately one-shotted. And he himself even says, like, right before he died, like, yeah, what is this feeling? Like, is this death? And we know for a fact that he's only had this feeling once before, and that was when he was battling, or not battling, but going against a little small sparring match against Sun Jin Woo, where Sun Jin Woo just immediately, just with a small bit of bloodlust to the point he was actually getting a bit seriously, Gojo felt like he was going to die. And the only other character that made him feel like that was, of course, the Ant King. And yet again, just to prove that Sun Jin Woo is well above all these hunters, Sun Jin Woo then makes his appearance known as well, finally appears on the raid, and immediately the Ant King's like, so, are you the king? And he's just like, what? Bud talking to me? And Ant King's like, man, fuck it. And it throws a quick right hook at Sun Jin Woo, and it did absolutely nothing. Sun Jin Woo just basically took that hit and was like, huh, okay, that's how you feeling today. And then they proceeded to have pretty much one of the most interesting battles throughout the series thus far. One of them, not the most, but one of the most interesting battles throughout the series, where throughout the battle, literally the Ant King was losing in, I mean, everything. Like, as soon as that punch goes through, Sun Jin Woo's like, okay, let me just show you how it's done. Uses one of his abilities, brings his fist towards him, and then literally throws his own right hook, and then sends the Ant King flying. While the Ant King's punch didn't even move Sun Jin Woo, Sun Jin Woo's casual punch in this scene that you're seeing right now sends him flying, and I was just like, oh, so he ain't playing. And they proceed to battle in every form of fashion, whether it be physical strength, speed, armies, everything, nothing he could do could work on Sun Jin Woo. And Sun Jin Woo's power actually made the Ant King fear for his life, to the point his only instinct, him being a killer, was like, no, run. So that's extremely impressive. And even in the more recent scene that we, most recent, I guess you would call this the more recent arc. This is happening after the Jeju Island arc. He actually managed to fight the creator of the system. And the creator of the system, we don't know how powerful he is, but we do know he's much more powerful than Biroh, considering numerous punches of his were actually damaging and giving Hunter Sun Jin Woo a much harder time than Biroh could ever do. So just showing that even throughout the series, he's still getting even stronger than characters like Biroh and even the creator of the system. Now, in terms of his abilities, they're pretty basic. He has an ability known as Dominator's Touch that essentially allows him to use like a force-like ability that allows him to pull objects to him, push him away, press down on them. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much anything he needs to do. It's a range-like ability that he's able to do that is extremely powerful and can actually one-shot characters that are weaker than him, such as how he did the Knights when he first attained it. And of course, his most prime ability that he's pretty much known for, and the reason why he has this shadow-like power is his pretty much necromancy ability, where he's able to literally take the soul and mana of someone out of them and actually go through and turn them into his soldiers. That actually they do become nerfed, which is why I mentioned before the A rank boss had to use the Orb of Avarice to perform that attack, but it still never implied he's at an S rank level. But regardless of the situation, you do have moments like that. He also has his Domain of the Monarchs, which actually allows them to increase their power even further. And that's when you see them usually get that purple vibe instead of the usual blue color that you usually see them in. He has other abilities such as like Vital Chain and stuff that allows him to do numerous powerful attacks with daggers and punches and things of that nature. So he has a pretty good amount of ability. And keep in mind that each one of his shadows also have their own skill sets and powers and stuff. Not to mention he can even supply them with other things such as swords, weapons, or the Orb of Avarice that I mentioned before for the magicians and things of that nature. And every enemy that he kills, he literally can just revive them back. He may not save them to his armor, but he can still revive them temporarily so they can fight for him. So his powers are pretty ridiculous at the end of the day. And without a shadow of doubt, Sun Jiwoo is an extremely powerful character, and I kind of scale him to being anywhere between that mountain level to small island level in terms of his overall power. And it's an extremely good power that also, like I said, allows him to constantly level up with pretty much each victory that he gains throughout the series. Whether it just be defeating small enemies, big enemies, he just keeps gaining more experience and boosting his power up, which is extremely, extremely good. Which means basically, the more enemies he kills, the stronger he's get. He's basically pretty much a OP Dark Souls character. Like, just imagine being able to have all of his ability stuff going through Dark Souls, and you wouldn't have no problem with any of the bosses. Like, it's kind of like that. It's pretty fucking amazing. I do recommend anyone read this series. I will be making another video about him soon, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, you guys, I will see you. Peace.